it's Martin. So in this video, I'll run through how we do estimations for tasks. Um, I'm in the estimates sheet. So one, you notice the blue markup here. We have some coefficients we add to our estimates, and from late April, we moved those percentages accordingly. That is the PM and testing, and then mean estimate error, which I'll explain in a bit. So I'm going to use this project as an example. So when we come to estimate, we have the part of, for the most part, we call it scoping. So you'll notice for some projects like this one, scoping. So that's the scoping time. We do not religiously follow it or be keen on the kind of time we put in, but the rule of thumb is there are certain project scopes where you've definitely logged into the client site, you've possibly done some initial troubleshooting. So that's the kind of time you bundle up into scoping. It's really the time used to estimate and put together a good scope. It's something that we are going to be more keen on, especially because once you put together very well good scope, we are able to avoid scope creep, but also everything is clear, even to hand off to another person who was not necessarily involved in the scoping. Then the next thing is now, like in this particular cases, you notice we just mentioned engage tech support because we engaged technical support from these different hosts in order to come up with a scope. So we use a 3-point estimate where we go with expected. Expected would be, okay, you've looked at the task. From your expectation, it shouldn't take you more than an hour. An hour is the 1. We denote it with the 1. Half an hour would be the 0.5. And then everything else falls within. So for example, 3 means 3 hours. 2.58 or something is, 2 hours and something. Yeah, so expected best is, if you get in there, you expected this task to possibly take you half an hour, like in this case, which is the quarter an hour. Then the worst case scenario is, what if you get in there and you meet certain unknowns? The thing with our scoping and estimation is sometimes you don't know everything up front, and sometimes we don't want to invest as much time to just be certain 100% before we can get into the estimate and task. So we add this aspect of, okay, what is the worst case scenario? It could take me 30 minutes, but possibly if I meet any other issues, I might go up to an hour. And then we have the totals. You bear with me because many people come and add in estimates. Sometimes you run into estimates where this 3-point estimate, the totals were not added properly. But just as a rule of thumb, if you look up here, so if I click this, the best time, we take that as is, then the expected time we multiply by 4. This is really a standard. We multiply by 4, and then we just also add the worst time, and then divide everything by 6. So everything is already in. Just pointing this to for you to just double check once you have an estimate, because many times for many people who interact with this sheet, we simply copy, like now, this estimate, and then I would paste it down here and then start to make the changes and also adjust the time based on what I'm estimating for. So through that, sometimes we have places where we've copied, we've duplicated the wrong things, basically. All right, so I've spoken into the scoping time. The totals definitely come in. Now the PM and testing, these coefficients are already in. This is a little bit of an older project, so it's likely we're running at 10%, as you can see, which is the 0.1. And then the mean estimate error, we were running at 25%. Again, if you're doing this in June 2024 and beyond, this should be different. I'll give an example of, for example, what is happening down here. So these need to be multiplied. As an example, this needs to be multiplied by 0.25, then this needs to be multiplied by 0.4. All right, so that is really it. Now, PM and testing, of course, the engineer works, but we expect a project manager to be involved somewhere in the chain, coordinate on testing, coordinate on engaging the customer. So we account for that, for the project manager's time through that. Then mean estimate error, just also building into the fact that you're human and sometimes you're going to make errors. You underestimated something, so that is the mean estimate error. That's how it comes in. And then you have the total time here, which is a total of all the components. And then the final up here, you'd use a rate of $90, but we often update that rate accordingly or according to the engineer who's going to do the task. So for example, if a certain task is going to be done by a senior engineer, would use a rate of $100. That simply means that even because you're committing a high value resource, the time their 1 hour is not equivalent to the 1 hour of a junior or mid-level. So that's really the concept. So senior 100, for mid-level, junior, we work with 90 because it's really the minimum for the platform we engage on. But yeah, that is it. Thank you.